Hey guys, this is a 2022 Ford Edge. This one is the titanium package with all-wheel drive. We're going to get into some of the specifics of what's in the car, what's under the hood coming up. If you have not seen one of these recently, Ford has made some pretty significant changes over the past couple years, and I think it's worth a look. And we're going to show you what some of those things are. There's some pretty cool things going on with this vehicle. All that coming right up. All right, so first things first, as we get in the car and we get rolling, let's take a look at the big gorilla in the room here. This infotainment display is pretty big, but it's useful. It's not positioned where it's in your field of view. It's actually just the right size in my opinion. You've got access to both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You can do everything here from look at the owner's manual to control climate. It does have dual climate control. It's got heated seats. It's got a heated steering wheel, as well as, navigation, backup camera views, which looks like this, and all sorts of things really that we're going to get into a little bit more coming up. I do want to point out here that it's a pretty well thought out interface, and again, you can get to the owner's manual there, which I really like, as well as, your traditional radio and that sort of thing. It's a push button start. Ford has gone to a completely digital information system with the exception of the speedometer. Everything else, including the odometer, your lane keep assist, fuel economy, all of that now is digital readout. I want to show you something in terms of how Ford has upgraded their owner's manual game. This is the owner's manual that's in the in-dash system. And not only can you search, you can do a visual search. Look at this. They have videos on how to operate things. For example, how to do the latch system for child car seats. And you tap on that, and it's going to load the video. And it's going to take us through Ford's little intro on their latch system, which is their anchor point tether system for child seats. There you go. So now some other options that we can look at in the manual is the visual search, which is cool. It'll let you find an area, tap on that area, and this is everything that's in this passenger airbag system area, and you can literally do it by a part of the car that you are looking at. You can bookmark things, of course, and you can do categories. So just a nice upgraded way to use an owner's manual. So the drive and the handling is surprisingly good on this, so much so that we've owned some luxury models, for example Lexus. And I'm going to compare this. We looked at this vehicle when we bought our Lexus RX, and they were close, but I felt like Lexus had a little bit of the edge. I don't know that that's necessarily still the case today. You get so close to that luxury line in the Ford that it may not even be worth the price difference to go up to a luxury model, with the possible exception of the quietness of the ride. This is a pretty quiet ride in this Edge, but it's not quite as quiet as you're going to get in a luxury line like an Infiniti or a Lexus or BMW or Mercedes or something like that. They did a good job with it. Highway noise is minimal. It's easy to have a conversation. It's barely noticeable, but it is still just a little bit louder or noisier than you would get in a luxury vehicle. I mentioned earlier this is an all-wheel drive version, and I am a fan of that, but there are some expectations you need to have with that over a two-wheel drive model. And first of all, watch this. It's a little bit jerkier, it's a little bit torqueier, then you can feel it more in the vehicle when you are not smooth on the gas pedal. That kind of comes with the territory.
In 1 mile, turn right onto Lindgren Boulevard.
Thank you, navigation lady. I'm okay with that, especially considering the advantages you get in bad weather, foul weather driving with all-wheel drive. It's a nice feature, I think, but it's not going to be as smooth of an acceleration for you as a traditional two-wheel drive model might be. This model does have lane keep. It's got blind spot warning indicators in the mirrors that light up when there is a car next to you. It flashes at different levels, different speeds to tell you various things about the proximity of the vehicles next to you. And the lane keep displays on the readout on the dash. Now, you can adjust the lane keep. There's 3 different levels of sensitivity. It will also do just a warning, or it will attempt to also do a vehicle assisted correction. That's up to the driver, and you can set that in the vehicle settings. So something that this vehicle has, I've just referenced this, a lot of the modern vehicles that Ford makes, GM makes, now they're putting this on them. It's an auto engine stop. So when you pull up at the stop sign, the engine will just turn off on its own, as long as your foot's on the brake. Now, if it's hot and the air conditioner needs to kick on, it'll start the engine back up automatically. And that's all fine and good. You'll probably hear it kick off here. I'm at a stop sign, foot's on the brake,
At the
and
stop sign, turn left.
just cut off. So now when I take my foot off the brake, it'll kick back on. That's designed to reduce emissions. There are some areas that have anti-idling regulations, and this is compliant with those. So it's a nice feature to deal with that. It can be a little bit annoying, but you do have the ability to turn it off if you don't care for it.
By the way, it's that little green A, the
Right there.
turn over button, and this car just started moving, and that feature turned back off, so that means the
In
engine turned back
2.2
on.
miles, turn right onto Lindgren Boulevard.
So kind of a nice feature. Now, sport mode. This is the all-wheel drive model. You just turn sport mode on by popping that button, and you can see the light here, and then you do get the gear indicator with an S on it up there. I like it. It does add a considerable amount of pep, especially if you're trying to quickly move in and out of traffic, like merging onto an interstate, freeway, what have you. It's a nice feature. We got this one with about 8 miles on the odometer. We've put about 200 miles on it. Over half of those were highway miles, and we're getting just over 20 miles to the gallon. I might have left sport mode on a lot. Just saying, it's kind of fun. So you're probably going to have better results on your fuel economy if you leave it off, but that was tough for me. Okay, so on the driver door here, you've got all 4 window controls. The front, both the driver and passenger window are full auto up and down, which is nice, not just the driver's side. Of course, you got your mirror controls here. 3 different seat memory positions, which is nice. This, again, is the titanium package. It's got the Bang & Olufsen sound system, and it's really nice. So they've got the speakers on the door. There's lots of speakers in this vehicle. I like that. This one's got automatic lighting control. It's on a knob, not a push button or a dial. You actually twist the knob. That's kind of a nice feature. And then you've got, of course, access to your different menu systems, whether it be music control or lane keep assist and that sort of stuff. Here on your navigation buttons on both sides, those correspond with what you see directly above it on either the left or the right of the speedometer there. So either on that side or on that side. All right, so kind of a fun little cool thing there. Not really sure if it's useful, but interesting. While we're looking at the center console here, a couple key things. This is a really deep area here. Easily you can put your cell phone in here, wallet, what have you, and then you've got both a USB-A and USB-C power connectors here. Your preference there for charging your phone. You got a slot here that you could potentially use to stand up your phone. Got 2 cup holders with the little grabby adjustable things. You've got your transmission gear select knob. This is a knob. It does work like a dial. You turn it. This vehicle has sport mode. We'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. You turn that on by just pushing the button. And then you've got your electric parking brake settings here, your auto engine stop start, and your backup park object alert system. Got a decent sized slot here, again, to put a cell phone or a wallet. Under the center console, a removable tray, deep storage space down here, lots of room. You can stick a 6-pack of cans, what have you, probably most of a large purse. easily a medium-sized purse if you care. So you got a lot of storage space there. All right, now, something that's kind of cool that I've noticed, if you've ever owned a Ford, sometimes they put the cruise control on the right side here of the steering wheel. And I've noticed on this one that it's on the left. Now, this is well thought out, because if I'm drinking and, you know, or, you know, reaching for something out of the cup holder or the console, I don't have to take my hands off the wheel to resume cruise. So let's say I'm in traffic, I step on the brake, I disengage cruise. I can come right back here, turn cruise on or off, resume and adjust the speed without ever taking my hand off the steering wheel. I can just use my thumb right there. So that's a cool thing. I like it on the left side because with access to everything that we do, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, being here in the middle console, the driver's going to use their right hand. So that's a good, well thought out option. All right, guys, we're down here in the dark on purpose. I want to show you guys a feature. Now, I mentioned earlier that my family actually considered this vehicle when we bought our Lexus RX 350. This one was another one in the running, and I'm going to show you a feature that this Ford actually does, I think, better than our Lexus does, and that has to do with the remote start. And so here it is. I'm going to do a remote start on this one. Now I'm going to use the key fob. You can use the app. I'm just going to tap the lock button, and then I'm going to double tap the remote start. All right, and you can probably hear it start there, okay? And then if I can get my cameraman to go around the other side, and I'm going to unlock it for him. I'm going to try to do this in one shot. And he's doing a good job. If you guys have ever tried to get in a car while watching a camera screen, you'll see. But here's the cool thing. Now, on our Lexus, if I get in my car, the minute that I open the door, if I've remote started it, the engine cuts. If you'll notice, the air conditioner is still blowing, the engine's still running, but the center info display is off. And there's actually a little light on the dash. It's the only light on the dash, and it says to drive, press the start button. So I like the way that Ford does this. I like the way that they handle it better than how Lexus handles it. Lexus literally forces a full shutdown of the vehicle, then you have to press the start button, then you're back in business. With Ford, the car's still running. I'm going to put my foot on the brake. I'm going to tap the engine start button. The car is still running, and the guy has to shut his door. But you'll notice that the display came on, and we're in business. So I never lost basically that engine running if it's in the wintertime where it's, you know, blowing hot air, or if it's in the summertime where the AC is going. Ford just leaves the engine running, and I think it's a better way to handle it. I wish Lexus would do that too. So that's one advantage that this Edge has. We'll call it the Edge, if you will. All right, guys, so I'm about to show you something that I don't see much in car reviews anymore. In fact, nobody likes to talk about this, but believe it or not, in 2022, cars still have engines. This one is a 2-liter twin-scroll turbo. Now, Ford's got it packed in there sideways, although it does have a pretty good amount of room in here to work if you are so inclined. This is a 4-cylinder. Couldn't find that anywhere on Ford's website, but once I took a look at it, obviously it became obvious. You're not going to know that without doing your homework from just looking at an order page on Ford's website, though. You've got to dig into it or be familiar with that engine. Ford has been doing this thing for a little while, and I understand why they're doing it. They're not the only ones that do it, and that is that they give you an engine that's just enough. So this is a little bit of a heavier vehicle. That 2-liter with a turbo on it will get the job done, but they're not giving you anything extra. And if you want something extra, this is probably not the car for you, but that said, it will do the job and get the job done. Ford has been a fan for a while now of putting those smaller engines in larger vehicles, or basically underpowering or just enough power for a vehicle. And that's just kind of their way to keep some of the costs down, because that is a considerable factor in the price of a new automobile. And the reliabilities come up on these. So it's not going to offer you basically some of the challenges that 4-cylinders from 20 years ago would. It'll get the job done. All right, so let's get to the heart of the issue here. And this is the opinion section. Would I buy one of these? And the answer is yes, I would. But there is a but. And there are some considerations that you need to make if you're looking at a vehicle like this. What is your buying habit like for automobiles? Are you the type of person that keeps a vehicle for 3 to 5 years and then trades it in or sells it and buys a new one? Or are you somebody that would go and buy a car and, as they say, drive the wheels off of it, repair it, keep it as long as you possibly can? Typically that's 5 to 15 years. And drive the car that way. If the first scenario is more your style, this is a good choice. In the class that this Edge falls in, that would be a good choice. I don't have anything against this vehicle, but for a longevity perspective, I would probably go at something else in a comparable vehicle size, maybe over in the Toyota brand or the Lexus brand, or possibly even Honda, just because they're a little bit more known for the longevity of their engines. This particular vehicle with that 2-liter twin scroll turbo, I don't have a lot of confidence in it over 100,000 miles. Not to say it won't. There are plenty of people that are able to do that. There are plenty of people that are able to get that kind of longevity out of Fords. But if you're not the person that's going to go all in on a vehicle and keep it until the wheels fall off, this probably isn't a good fit for you. Nothing against Ford, nothing against this 2-liter engine. I personally just don't feel comfortable keeping a vehicle with a small engine like this that works as hard as it does over 100,000 miles. That's a lot of wear and tear, a lot of heat, a lot of just cycles on everything that with a little bit of a larger engine maybe wouldn't be worked as hard. That said, this isn't new. Ford's had this particular generation of the engine out for a while. It's reliable. I just think that I would be a little bit more tempted to go towards something maybe on the Toyota or the Lexus side if I really wanted to have a vehicle that I kept for 10 or 15 years in this size class. There are a lot of positives for this Ford Edge. I love the way that they have the user interface and the infotainment system set up. Ford seems to be going to that in a lot of their vehicles. It's almost identical to the one that we saw in the Mach-E and reviewed that. I like how well thought out all the controls are on the steering wheel. Love the foot pedal access that you have that Ford's been doing a while for the rear hatch. All those things are fantastic. The all-wheel drive is a very nice stability feature for a family car, especially if you drive in foul weather situations or you live in an area where you see more of those. Depending on where you live in the world, that may or may not be a factor, but it is a nice safety feature, especially for a family car or, a family vehicle, to just have that little extra peace of mind that the all-wheel drive offers you. Keep in mind, you are going to trade a little bit on fuel economy to have that all-wheel drive. In my head, it's worth it, but it depends on your driving style. It depends on your budget. Some other things that are really nice about this vehicle: I love the ride. I love the quietness of the ride. I love the heated steering wheel that the titanium package has. I love the heated seats. Now, we don't have the cooled seats in this one. You have to get a higher package than we got to accomplish that. Might be something you want to think about, especially with the leather that they offer on these. I'm in an area where it gets quite warm, and that would be a factor. I love the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Ford's gone out of their way to really give a quality product that in years past I would expect to have seen in like a Lincoln brand. And I see that line between Lincoln and Ford getting smaller all the time as Ford ups their quality game in their Ford branded vehicles. All right, so I've told you about some positives. Let's run through a few negatives. There's not a lot, but I'll mention a few here. Not super thrilled about the wiper system. It's a little bit confusing to me. Now, granted, this isn't my everyday car. Ford basically ran out of room to put all their controls. And so the wiper stick system, if you're trying to figure out at night, you got to turn on an overhead light and try to read the little little arrow indicator icons and try not to crash, and it's kind of a pain, especially for the back wiper. But once you figure it out, again, it's yours. You drive the vehicle for a week, you're going to know how to operate that stuff. I'm just not a huge fan of the smaller engines that they're putting in these, but again, depends on your style, your buying habits, may not be a factor to you at all. The fuel economy can be a little bit of a negative for you. Again, you're going to have a little bit of a trade-off with an all-wheel drive and getting the best fuel economy you can get. Whenever you go the all-wheel drive route, it tends to suffer just a little bit. It didn't bother me, but this one's getting in the neighborhood of about 20 miles per gallon with a good combination of about half that tank on highway and the other half on city. You can do better in a vehicle this size and class, but again, it depends on what you want. If the safety and reliability of that all-wheel drive is more important to you, just know that you're going to make a little bit of a concession there for fuel economy. So one other thing that I did not include yet, and I want to just try to show you, and this is something that Ford has been doing for a while. If you haven't seen this, it's a nice feature. It's well thought out. There is actually a sensor under the rear bumper here, and if you slide your foot under that sensor and you have the key somewhere near the vehicle, let's see if I can get it right here. There it goes. The rear hatch will open. And so think about having a lot of groceries and whatnot in your hand. That's where it comes in handy. So food for thought, I do like that. It beats having to push a button or do something weird over the hatch or to pull out the key fob and use that. All right, guys, we're just about done here. Almost forgot, wanted to show you one more feature, and that is the hatch space or the trunk space. It's pretty roomy for this. I mean, you know, come to think of it, you can put just about anything in here that you wanted. You've got plenty of cargo space, and you know, it's comfortable enough that you're not even gonna notice. So, thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn it from red to gray, and we will see you on the next video with more kids in the trunk. See you guys.